Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. We're going to play a game here. Suppose you're the owner of an NFL team. How you became the owner and somehow lucked your way into billions upon billions of dollars, I don't know. But here you are, and the good news for you, besides having all this money, is that you just won a really big football game. Your team did what they had to do, won the game, and is now in a pretty good spot. Now it's your turn to speak to the press and talk about your team's performance, and more specifically, your head coach's performance. What do you say? Do you A, say nothing, B, congratulate the team on the win, C, brush it off and talk about how the team is already focused on next week, or D, say something along the lines of, it's a good thing you won the game because I would have fired you if you didn't. Obviously, saying option D would be ridiculously stupid. Good luck getting the head coach to feel good about himself knowing he was moments away from getting fired. Good luck getting the team to rally around a coach who could be gone at any minute. Good luck keeping the team morale high. You don't tell the coach after he won, yeah, I was going to let you go right now if you didn't pull that game out. However, that's exactly what William Clay Ford did in 1976 with the Detroit Lions. After a win, he brought the mood down by delivering a shocking announcement that no one saw coming, and an announcement where I'm not sure why at all he felt the need to make it in the first place. And this is the story behind the bizarre incident. Before I talk about the game and the comments in question, we need some context to understand who the head coach was, and how we got to the point where he was potentially on the hot seat. In 1974, the Detroit Lions hired Rick Forzano to be the new head coach of the team. The story of how he became the head coach is an unfortunate one. After coaching at Navy for 4 years, he came to the Detroit Lions in 1973 as their offensive backs coach. Forzano was going to be an assistant on Don McCafferty's staff. McCafferty is best known as the coach who won Super Bowl V with the Baltimore Colts, becoming the first head coach in NFL history to win the Super Bowl in his first year in charge. George Seifert would accomplish this feat in 1989 with the 49ers. And entering the 1974 season, Forzano was still poised to be an assistant on McCafferty's staff. However, tragedy struck when on July 28, 1974, McCafferty suffered a heart attack while mowing his lawn. He died at just 53 years old. The Lions decided to promote Forzano and made him the acting coach. It was a weird and unfortunate situation, and Forzano said on the promotion, "I don't want congratulations. This is a very sad time in my life. Don McCafferty was a great person. We will miss him." Forzano was in an almost impossible situation. The team had to deal with an unspeakable tragedy, and he had no time to implement his system or prepare for the job. He was doing everything how McCafferty set up, even though he wasn't McCafferty. By all accounts, the 1974 season should have been a disaster. Instead, Forzano surprised just about everyone with how well his Lions played. Even though the team started off 0-4, they wound up winning 7 of their next 9 games. Detroit finished the 1974 season with a 7-7 record, and while it was nowhere close to a playoff spot, it was impressive enough where Forzano was no longer just the acting head coach, but rather the full-time head coach. The Lions gave him a 3-year contract after the season to assume the position full-time, which he accepted. It seemed like Forzano was going to have some job security going forward. Even though he acquired the opportunity in the most unfortunate set of circumstances, he took advantage of the opportunity, capitalized on his shot at being a head coach in the league, and was now going to get to do things his way and take the reins. Unfortunately for him, that job security would not exactly last. When 1975 rolled around, things were looking really good for Forzano and company. He was able to build off the strong end he had to the 1974 season, and through 9 games, the Lions were 6-3. They had no realistic shot at winning the division as the Minnesota Vikings were 9-0 and were in cruise control to another NFC Central title, but the lone wildcard spot was absolutely in play. When you consider the fact that over their last 19 games dating back to 1974, the Lions were 13-6, winning over 68% of the time, it definitely seemed like Forzano had this team on the right track, and that his strict style of coaching that he was so famous for at Navy was working here. However, Detroit faltered hard down the stretch, and once again, finished the season at 7-7. They suffered a myriad of injuries at the receiver position. The passing game sputtered. The defense, which had only allowed more than 300 yards in one of the team's first 9 games, allowed that many yards in 4 of the final 5 games. No one seemed to blame Forzano for this. His job did not appear to be in any jeopardy, and Cardinals head coach Don Coryell praised Forzano after the season, saying that guy in the other locker room may have done as good a job coaching the last 2 years in the NFL as anybody. Forzano was safe heading into the 1976 season, as his job didn't appear to be in any sort of immediate danger. As to open up that 1976 season, the Lions took on their NFC Central rival in the Chicago Bears. The Bears were one of the worst teams in all of football the year before. They have the third worst offense in football, the second worst defense in football, and the second worst point differential in football. So a ton of people were surprised when the Lions laid an egg and lost this game 10-3. Detroit's offense was pitiful, as their quarterbacks combined to go 15 for 35 while taking 6 sacks. The team turned it over 3 times and finished the game with just 134 net passing yards. It was Chicago's best defensive showing since 1972, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. Now the Lions had a critical Week 2 game against the Atlanta Falcons to bounce back and avoid falling into the 0-2 hole. Little did anyone know that even though the Lions were about to win the battle, they were about to get destroyed in the war. September 19, 1976. We're at the Pontiac Silverdome for this Week 2 matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons. Just to emphasize how important of a game this is, back in 1976, teams only played 14 games in a season, and only 4 teams in each conference made the postseason. Of the 8 teams that made the postseason the year before in 1975, none of them started 0-2. In fact, in the 6 years that this playoff system has been in place since the merger, of the 48 teams to play postseason football, not a single one of them started the year with an 0-2 record. If you had 2 losses to your name after 2 weeks, that was a death sentence to your season. It made this battle a must-win for both the Lions and the Falcons, who could not afford to be on the wrong side of history. And fortunately for the Lions, they were on the right side of things. Atlanta jumped out to a 10-0 lead after 3 quarters, and things were looking bleak for Detroit, who by this point in the season had scored just 3 points in 7 quarters. But an explosive fourth quarter, highlighted by a touchdown on a fake field goal and a pick 6 by James Hunter to seal the deal, gave Detroit 24 unanswered in the fourth, as they won the game by a final score of 24-10. The defense lit it up, forcing Atlanta to turn the ball over 5 times, and holding Atlanta to just 59 net passing yards. The defense played so well that Falcons quarterback Steve Bartkowski went just 5 for 16 with 59 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 3.9, which is worse than if you did nothing but spike the ball to the ground on every single play. To say that this win was big for Detroit would be an understatement. After a shaky preseason and a pretty bad skid dating back to the end of 1975, they at least put themselves in position to do something this season. The offense was still shaky, and their odds of doing much were slim, especially with how much better Minnesota was than anyone else in the division. But with the way their defense was playing, having allowed just 20 points through the first 2 weeks, anything was possible. While the Lions were celebrating the win, and while Rick Forzano was enjoying life, Lions owner William Clay Ford decided to speak to the press. And during this press conference, Ford completely sucked the life out of everyone. When Ford spoke to the press, he decided to take the opportunity to talk about his head coach and how he would have lost his job if they didn't win that game. And this wasn't one of those joking statements that just got completely taken out of context. No, he really meant it. After the game, Ford said, "Rick had to win this game. I had a hard talk with him last Monday. I've never come down as hard on anybody in my life. That Bear game was an absolute travesty. I was totally disgusted. I figured if we lost today, with the Vikings coming in, I had to do something drastic." Now here's the thing. Announcing the reason that you're firing a coach and being transparent is good, and I've got no problem with that, provided that the coach was, actually fired. But you just made this statement completely out of the blue, with the players and coaches and everyone else in the organization now aware that you are going to fire someone after 2 weeks. Safe to say, Forzano was stunned by this. He was watching the news that night with his wife and with his mother, and on the news, Ford's announcement came on. Nobody really knew how to react, and rightfully so, since that's literally the last thing you expect to hear after winning a game. Forzano said, "I was a little shocked. My mother's 76 and the announcement wasn't very good for her, but I've got a strong family." And to make matters worse, the next day, Forzano, instead of having all of his questions and focus devoted to beating the Vikings, was now having to field questions about his future. Forzano said he had no intentions of quitting the team, but did say that this announcement made it hard for him to do his job, saying when asked about this, "I'm sure it does. It makes it difficult." He was clearly frustrated with the timing of Ford's announcement, saying, "I don't have anything to say." He made the statement, "I did it. You'll have to get anything else from him. It would be wrong for me to comment on anything he said." This was supposed to be an easy week. Somehow, the Lions found a way to create a giant controversy on the status of a head coach after a win. What Ford was thinking when he decided to make that statement, I don't know. But obviously, nothing good could come out of this. Forzano knew that his job was nowhere close to being secure. The players knew that the man they had to respect and listen to could be gone at any minute, and there was no sense of security or comfort anywhere. Everyone was walking on eggshells after a win. And to the surprise of just about no one, this caused major problems almost immediately. After beating the Falcons in a game that may have been more disastrous than the Bears game the week before despite winning it, The Lions had a big NFC Central game against the Minnesota Vikings. Detroit lost to 10-9 on a mishandled extra point late in the fourth quarter. The good news for Forzano was that he was not going to get fired after this game, with Ford saying afterwards, "I couldn't fault Rick for losing." The bad news was that his job status was seemingly being determined on a week-to-week basis, which is not a good way to handle a head coaching situation. Ford said he wasn't taking anything back that he said last week, and gave no affirmation about Forzano being the guy for the rest of the season. But 1 week later, Forzano was no longer the guy. The Lions lost 24-14 to the Green Bay Packers, dropping to 1-3, and Forzano decided to hand in his resignation. He said that he felt that the team was deserving of a coaching change, which probably translates to the team not deserving to have his job status weigh on their shoulders, and that this decision was strictly voluntary, with Ford not forcing Forzano to hand in his resignation. And to make matters worse, the team was completely caught off guard by the whole incident, with one player saying that at a regularly scheduled team meeting that Monday afternoon, nobody knew what was coming. Tommy Hudspeth closed out the season as the interim head coach. For any owners or general managers that might be watching this, a word of advice, as this entire story should serve as a cautionary tale. Do not publicly tell the press and surprise everyone by announcing that you were moments away from firing someone. The last thing you want to do is create an unnecessary distraction after a win, because when you do that, it will not work out at the end of the day. William Clay Ford had been the owner for a decade and a half at this point, and yet, despite years of expertise and knowledge and experience, didn't seem to think that one through. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and be sure to check out Twitch every Monday and Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL Trivia and win cash prizes, link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JRGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See what you can have a patron and request future video topics in the description below.